Today, I'm going to be showing you 10 separate village seeds you could use for your Minecraft Bedrock world. These villages can range from having a ton of loot, to having some weird generations, to everything else in between. Starting off with this one seed, which spawns you right in front of a desert village and a desert temple, as well as a desert well inside the village and some of the village spewing over into this forest. Meaning not only are you set for a whole bunch of food and things like that, but you're also pretty set with a ton of loot from this one desert temple, on top of having a decent amount of biome diversity at spawns such as this ocean, this jungle, and that plains over there. But if you're looking for something a bit more unique, then maybe try out this seed, which spawns you right on top of this pretty decent sized survival island, which also just so happens to have a village inside of it. And for a village on its own, this one is actually a pretty decent sized one too. Meaning pretty much everything you expect to see inside of a village, you're gonna get, and then some. On top of having a huge opportunity of working on this one pretty decent sized survival island too. But something you might be thinking about more and more is having different types of biome villagers. Well, inside of this seed, right next to spawn, you not only get a desert village, but you also get yourself some jungle villagers inside of here too, as well as a sneaky pillager outpost off to the side too, on top of having not one blacksmith, but actually two separate blacksmiths right inside this one village. And even without this village, this scene is actually pretty noteworthy too, because not only do we have the jungle and the desert right at spawn, but we also managed to get yourself some pretty decent mountains off in the distance, as well as some mangrove forest over there, as well as an ocean over there too, on top of that little sneaky pillager outpost. So yeah, even without the village, this spawn is like pretty busy, but with the village just adds that extra level of just like insanity to this one seed. Speaking of insanity, this seed actually has some pretty beautiful generation, and no, I'm not talking about that village off to the left. I'm instead talking about the village behind us, because this one village managed to spawn right in the center of an entire ice spikes biome, meaning you get some absolutely beautiful looking generation surrounding this entire village. And whichever one of these villagers decide to build the village here, like, good on them, good on them. Like, this is a perfect prime spot. And even though this is such a beautiful looking spot, there's also some practical things with this one seed, such as that one ruined portal over there, as well as a pillager outpost off in the distance over there, and potentially an igloo too. But seriously, like this seed, this village is just like a work of beauty if I've ever seen one. But if that village wasn't beautiful enough, then the village inside of this seed might be. Only thing is, this one, instead of it being near spawn, it's about 800 or so blocks away, but you should be able to get there relatively easy by boats, and you could probably see it off in the distance over there now. There's a village, but it's almost completely stacked one on top of the other on top of the other. This is the type of weird generation I love to see when I find villages, and yeah, it definitely provides from having some extraordinarily weird generation, as well as at least a small minority amount of normal generation. And what's even cooler with this village is the fact that underneath it, there's actually a stronghold. And underneath that is actually an ancient city, meaning, yeah, not only is there a lot of weird generation with this village, but there is some heavy things you can actually find around it, with some weird mixtures here and there around the place. And on the topic of weird mixtures, this seed certainly has some of them, because right at spawn we could see this village, which just so happened to have a little bit of it going right into the mangrove forest. And by a little bit, I really mean like this lamppost, and that's pretty much about it. It's still worth popping by this one village, mainly because of the blacksmith, but in case you want to find some actual swamp villages spawning naturally inside of your world, then just head yourself off in this direction right here, because just over there, we can see an acacia village, and about half of this entire village managed to spawn inside of the mangrove forest. Take a look at this. We can see, you know, a few acacia villagers spawning inside of here, but then we can see a whole bunch more managing to spawn right inside of the mangrove forest. If you're planning on trading for mending books and you don't want to have to go out of your way to make swamp villagers, then this seed pretty much has you pretty much covered for the most part. With not only the plains villagers, with not only the acacia villagers, but also with the mangrove villagers too, as well as with some weird floating sugarcane that, you know, a worthy bonus, I guess, in this one seed. Speaking of noteworthy bonuses, this next seed spawns you right in the middle of a village, but this particular village actually has 4 separate blacksmiths right inside of it, because we can see this one right here, but then if we just head ourselves down this one street right here, then we have this one right here. Just down the street here, we could see this one here and this one here, on top of the one we just saw when we spawned right in, meaning you have 4 separate blacksmith chests for your taking right when you spawn inside the world. Is it possible that we could find more at spawn? Sure. But still, having this many literally right as you spawn in is really, really lucky and really, really noteworthy. And I guess if you want to count it, there's also this ruined portal chest right over here too. So in terms of loot, this seed really, really has you covered. Something that's a little less covered is what's inside this one seed, because we spawned right inside of a Mesa Badlands, and if you want to find this particular village inside this seed, then just head yourself off in this direction for a little bit right here. And much like the past seed, you do have plenty of waterways and oceans to actually use to your advantage to get there. But when you do get there, you might notice that there's pretty much a mesa wall right here, and in that mesa wall is a desert village. A village which just so happens to spew its way down its one mountain on top of a lush cave being pretty much entirely exposed to the entire surrounding and exposed to this one village. And on top of the fact that even on the other side there is some pretty strange looking generation, because the snow. There's literal snow right inside this desert. Snow in a desert village, which just so happened to spawn in a mesa, which just so happened to spawn clear the way down a mountain, which also happened to spawn with a lush cave. Like, why is there so much weirdness happening with this one village all at once? Like, seriously. Well, on the plus side, we can't get as weird as the last seed, right? Well, not really, if I'm honest, because we spawned right inside of a village again, but this village is sort of layered right on top of this perk, as we can see right here. That is some crazy luck, and those are some crazy villagers, just to have the willingness to build all the way up here and all the way down there. As well as some of the village going across this one mountain table, as I like to call it, spewing itself all the way out here, with some unfortunate occurrences with some of the villager houses, let's be honest. But on a more practical level, if like you want to play something like Sky Island, but you don't want to be like crazy limited, then this seed, it literally spawns you on top of it, on the top layers of this one village. So if you want to play sort of like a survival island-esque thing, then this seed pretty much has you covered. But if you're looking for a little bit more tranquility and a little bit more normality, then this seed might have you covered, because this seed actually has a village which, for the most part, has a majority of it inside of a cherry grove. Because if we just head through this cherry grove, then we can see there is a village where the majority of it is inside of this cherry grove. Look at this. Look at this beauty. Like, a cherry grove is built to have a village inside of it, and even though it doesn't naturally happen to... Why are you up there? Even though it doesn't really happen too naturally often, when it does, like, accidentally happen, kind of like what we're seeing right here, it does tend to make some beautiful looking images, as we can see right here. And again, outside the village, there are a few practical things you might want to be aware of, such as a pillager outpost just at the very end of the cherry grove, as well as this pretty decent sized mountain over there, on top of plenty of other forests, plenty of other different types of ocean biomes and things like that. But yeah, let me know what you think of these 10 seeds down below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later.